All right. Welcome to another episode of the All American Hoops podcast. This is episode 77. As per usual, I'm joined by my younger brother, Matt Driscoll.
Hey, it's always a pleasure. I just want to take this time to give a little round of applause to John for making dinner tonight. Hell of a job, chicken parmesan.
And also joining me is our older brother, John Driscoll.
Thank you, Matt, for the intro there. I appreciate it. It took a lot longer than I remembered that it used to take. And thank you for having me on.
Of course. So, yeah, it's funny because, beginning of the playoffs, I said there's a good chance we're going to be switching things around because of the playoff scheduling. But luckily for us, the playoff scheduling has worked out pretty good for us to where we're not overlapping too many big games, even though we're currently in the middle of the Nuggets versus the Thunder game. But that's not a big deal at all, though we're missing that. Not even missing at all because we'll tune in to that later. But the one time that we did have to push the show back an hour is because John was making a phenomenal dinner for us. So we're very, very thrilled about that. It was very tasty. So as we mentioned 2 weeks ago, so this is episode 77. I looked up some 77s yesterday. If I'm being honest, I didn't write them down, so I completely forgot about them. But obviously, Luka Doncic is one of them. There's someone else that I'm forgetting about that it was like an O moment. I forgot who. Anyway, we can revisit that in a second. But obviously a ton has gone on in basketball for the past week since we were last on. I don't even know where to start. But obviously I usually have a very strict policy to not wear any merch throughout the playoffs. I usually tend to not for everyone else, but for me personally, wearing a jersey does whenever I wear a jersey during a big game, it usually ends up being bad luck for me. But however, in solidarity of our king Jayson Tatum, unfortunately, rupturing his Achilles, I am wearing his jersey tonight, just because out of respect for him, and that'll be a good way to segue into the first topic of discussion. So as I mentioned, everything that just happened, a torn Achilles does tend to be the most
detrimental.
Severe.
Severe, detrimental. Yeah, I wasn't gonna go as far to say dangerous because definitely usually the most detrimental injury that a player can have. Very few players have come back from that injury. And those that have it usually means that not come back, but come back to form. There have only been a few exceptions, Kevin Durant being one of them. But based on the way that doctors are reporting it now, or his doctors, in addition to a report from Noah Dazel interviewing a doctor, things seem to be. If history repeats itself, it seems like Tatum is going to be on the better side of history with this, given his modern medicine, given how well he takes care of his body throughout the season, throughout the offseason, just constantly keeping at it. So I usually start off from that, but John, I was wondering where are you right now in your thought process with Jayson Tatum?
Yeah, I think if you would have asked me when was Game 4, Monday?
Tuesday, I think.
Tuesday. I think if you were to ask me on Tuesday, if we had this podcast on Tuesday, it'd be a much different vibe, right? I think that night, the Tatum Brown turnover, you see OG take the ball on a fast break and put the Knicks up 9 with a little over 3 left. I think my first thought was, all right, well, the season's over. And then I see Tatum on the ground grabbing just above, just above his fibula, and I think we've seen players in multiple sports who kind of injure their Achilles. They grab that area above, a couple inches above that foot. So then I thought, oh, okay, so next season's over already too. And that very well could be the case. But I think, overall, I mean, the series aside right now, because I think we'll talk a little bit more. I think you have to, when you talk about Jayson Tatum, you have to talk about the series and the injury separately, because I think they're just two different things. On Tuesday, I thought, we were without Jayson Tatum for the rest of this year, obviously. and most likely, and at the time I thought definitely the rest of next year. And who knew how he was going to come back, or if he could come back, and to what form, and what were the Celtics going to do for next year and in the future for that. Over the past 48 hours, it seems like we've been getting better news than like the worst news, right? Like Tatum's in like a pretty rare situation here where it's different than others. I feel like people who, or athletes who have torn their Achilles, are in their mid 30s or even 40s when it comes to Aaron Rodgers. Jayson Tatum's 27. He's in the best shape of his life. He's just entering his prime, which really, really stinks for him getting this injury. But he's also incredibly fortunate to have done this in New York, to get it from the surgeon who did Kevin Durant's injury, who I think did Derek White's foot surgery a couple years back. But from what I read, and Noah Dells wrote a really good article, and I'm sure you guys want to touch on this a little bit more, but she wrote a really good article. She had spoken with like an Achilles specialist, and more or less she said that it's very rare for Jayson Tatum to have gotten the surgery from the preferred, expert in this surgery, within a couple hours of it happening. Like, it's very, very rare. You can almost say it's like first time that it's ever happened to an athlete where they get the surgery immediately. And they did like some, I should have looked it up before this podcast, but I forgot what method they use, but they use like a different method of repairing the Achilles tendon, which is supposed to lead towards quicker comeback time. But me personally, and you guys, I want to know what you guys think. For me, like the value of the quality and the speed of the surgery doesn't really, like, I don't really care too much about how quickly he can come back. I care more about how, when he does come back, can he get back to where he was? Like, if you tell me he can come back in January, but he'll be like 90% of what he was, or he can come back in 2026 opening night and be 100%. I'm taking the latter 10 times out of 10, because that's what's important to me. He's 27 years old. If you have to boot a year, granted it's your prime, which stinks, but if you have to like kind of push that down the line, it doesn't really bother me, because he takes really good care of his body. He's in really great shape. I think we were all kind of predicting him to go for another 10 years plus. And I just hope that's still the case. I know I ranted for a little bit there, but it's I think overall the concern is not really with the Celtics right now. It's with Jayson Tatum and his career.
Yeah, John, I totally agree. You touched on a lot of great things there. Like your initial reaction, like, oh, this season's over and possibly next year, because we were waiting for till the next day around like 4 o'clock when we got the news that it was, definitely ruptured. We got the news on Tuesday. I believe the game was on Monday, correct? Because
yeah, it was Monday. Yeah, that was my bad.
Yeah.
Once I kept on, once I 1:30.
yeah, so we got the news Tuesday at like 4 or 5 o'clock that it was officially ruptured. So like John said, the Noah Dalzell article, friend of the pod, great article. It's kind of crazy that he got it right away. It seems to be very beneficial. Seems to be very fortunate that he was in New York when it did happen. Kevin Durant was out for 18 months, I believe, with his Achilles. I think he was 29 years old when it happened, though. Tatum is 27, so he is 2 years younger. But let me run through a couple of my emotions when it happened. Obviously, very sad. Obviously, he's grabbing his Achilles. You think he's out all of next year. And then AH himself tweeted, "This might be the last time we ever saw Jayson Tatum play with Al Horford." So very, very depressing, very sad. But then they came out yesterday without him. I know we're just talking about Tatum right now, but I'm gonna flip it over to the game, Celtics Knicks game itself, and it seemed that they were rallying around JT and they didn't go out sad, which was really nice to see. But yeah, like John said, it's not really. Your thoughts aren't really on the success of the Celtics for the rest of the year. It's more just on the success of Jayson Tatum's career, whether that's in 2026 or end of 2025. We'll see.
And
So-
personally, not to like maybe I'll walk this back in a little bit if he has because I do think he's going to have like a very speedy recovery because that's just like who he's been his entire life. Like part of me really, really just hopes that he doesn't play at all next year. Like I don't know, and this could be one of those injuries where if you like come back, there's not really much of a risk of you re-injuring it, and I think that's the case for some of these tendon injuries. Like it's just healed, and then like if you injure it again, it is what it is. But me personally, like I just want him to be fully back and not rush back in like February when they're pushing for like a 4 seed or whatever. But that's just how I see it. And I'm sure we're going to jump into more of the Celtics now, which we'll have some more stuff to talk about.
Well, I have a question to you guys. Obviously, this is on Mount Rushmore of saddest sports moments in my lifetime. I don't know if that's a topic or not that you want to discuss later, Chris.
Sure.
But,
we can dive into it now because I literally have my top 10 list up right now. I'm not. We don't have to go through all 10 because we don't want to dampen the mood too much unless you want me to. But
I would say it's definitely on mine. I would say it's the saddest. I would say it's number one for me.
It's number one for me too.
Well, I think it's like it's number one for me too, and I just think it's like it's so much different than like losing Game 7 to LeBron in 2018, or like the Mets being up like 90% of the series against the Royals. Those are all very sad.
That's number two
moments for us fans. Like we were very devastated, but this is like it makes you think about like the person, and it makes you realize that sports, these are people, and I know we're biased Celtics fans, but from everything we've read about this guy for the last 9 years, it seems like he's nothing but, just absolute class, really great guy, family oriented, doesn't get into trouble, just kind of loves basketball and kind of, and it makes you sad when something bad happens to him like that because, it's uncontrollable. But I just think it's like very clearly one for me because it made me immediately think about like the person, not really like the athlete or the team.
I think it's pretty. I think it's pretty safe to say that, like, and again, I know we're very biased, but like, I don't like. There aren't many guys that this could have happened in like a worse way too. Because like, even if you like think about Wemby, you could say, okay, he's 20, he can definitely come back from this and have a long career. You could say if it's LeBron, he had an amazing career already, and he was already on the decline. Tatum is smack dab in the middle of his prime, about to go on a long run, wins every single year, and this happens to, and he has like some older teammates now, Horford and Drew. I think that this is the worst person it could have possibly happened to if you factor in all of that. So that's the unfortunate thing. If you're wondering, by the way, to wrap up my Mount Rushmore, John, you said 2018 LeBron. That's number 8 for me on my list. That's how many sad moments we've had as fans. But number 3, I have the 2022 finals. Number 4 and 5, I think, is a tie between the 2010 finals against the Lakers. And actually, John, Matt wasn't really old enough for this, but the 2006 NLCS actually is probably up there for me as well.
Yeah, that's close. I think. Do you have the 2023?
2023 CF is number 6. Yeah, and since we're at it, I'm going to finish off the list because
let me try to take some shots here. Do you have any football or no?
I have one football.
It's not the Deshaun Jackson one, is
it? It's the Deshaun Jackson one because I'm thinking just because like that was I was thinking that, or back in 2009, the year after they won the Super Bowl, they lost to the Eagles, but the Deshaun Jackson one, they were up big, they blew the lead, and that essentially knocked them out of the playoffs.
Yeah. Okay, so then do you have any more Mets ones?
Yes. Yeah. One more Mets one.
Is 2022 on there? Just like
it was when we were at our cousin's wedding. Yes, that's number 9.
Yeah, that one's done.
And then there's one more. It's like one of them is the same year as one of them we've already talked about.
For the Celtics?
Yes. It's not when they got eliminated.
Perkins ACL.
Not it's you're on the right track, but it's not Perkins.
KG's knee.
Maybe Isaiah Thomas
later. Very shortly later.
Isaiah Thomas.
Very shortly later than Isaiah Thomas. earlier.
Hayward.
Yes, Gordon Hayward is number. Yeah, I have that number 7 because that was the beginning of the season, and
it's another guy you feel for.
Absolutely, yeah. All right, yeah. Well, now that we got all the I guess there's one more thing I want to touch on Tatum before we go. Future friend of the pod, not yet, but Aaron Shorter. I've been on his pod before. He does his Legends player profiles, and he said that he thinks that Tatum is just outside the top 50 right now. I have him like right around there. I either have him just outside. I had him just outside the top 50. I was going to have him just inside the top 50, which I don't know if he did enough this playoff run to bump him up. But however, he did, however, just have his career year. But I'll have to revisit that at the end of the offseason, which is usually when I revisit my lists. He thinks that like Tatum is going to come back eventually. He's probably going to play. He said like, okay, maybe he'll play like 20 games next year. Maybe they win a playoff series or 2 and everything along that line. And he thinks that he's going to finish off as a top 40 player, but hoping to be a top 30 player before he got injured. I'm hoping that it's what?
Sorry, go ahead.
So like I think the Tatum ceiling before the injury was top 25. Top 20 would have been pushing it, but I don't think it was out of reality. It was like I don't think it was completely impossible. I don't. Maybe like I'm in the acceptance stage right now. To where like I'm not too I'm not too like over concerned about the injury. Like I'm obviously concerned about the injury for the future, but like I think we have like another. I wouldn't be surprised if we have like another 2 or 3 years of first team All NBA Jayson Tatum, because Kevin Durant 4 years after the Achilles injury last year made second team All NBA, and he was already kind of injury prone before Tatum. So I don't think it's at all out of the realm for Jayson Tatum to make a handful of, maybe not a handful, like a couple of first team All NBAs after this Achilles injury.
Yeah, I don't think that's crazy at all. What you did say about, Kevin Durant being injury prone, that kind of made me think of the career after the injury. Like when Tatum gets back, we're probably not going to see him play 78 to 82 games anymore. It would probably be around that 65 game mark.
Probably, at least for the first couple. Yeah, like maybe like when he turns 32, which isn't that old. Like maybe he'll start playing like in 70, 75 range again, but who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
But yeah, I think Durant played 75 last year, so yeah, which was shocking. But yeah, and he only played 40 something this year. Oh no, Durant played 73 this year too. Yeah, so it was back to back years. He played 70 something games. So yeah, so it's definitely possibility.
Possible.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, but all in all, Jason, you're on our prayers. We're on our prayers. We're really hoping that we're hoping for a speedy recovery. To do your best. We hope that you rest up. Take this time to rest up. Listen to the doctors. Spend some time with those around you. And if I know you have a lot of downtime for the next few months. So if you have an hour, you can feel free to hop on the pod. Okay, cool. Now that we're done talking about Tatum, let's talk about the other members of the Celtics who stepped up big time last night. On Matthew Driscoll's birthday. Happy birthday, happy belated, Matt. By the way, my bad for not bringing that up.
No, thank you.
But they played amazing basketball. From Derek White opening up the game, setting the tone, just draining all the threes that he can, to Jaylen Brown just totally taking on that Tatum role. He knew exactly what to do. People were afraid that he was just going to play. He's just going to have tunnel vision all day long, saying like, okay, like it's my time to shine. Let me totally take over. No, he saw his time to shine as, okay, it's my time to shine. Let me elevate those around me, which is exactly what he did. He finished with 26 and 11, I think, last night, which is, I don't remember the last time. Was it? It was 12. Yeah, I don't remember the last time. That might be a career high in assist, honestly. I'm sure that. Maybe not, because I'm sure someone would have said that, but I don't remember I saw a more overall efficient game from Jaylen Brown. Like he didn't shoot tremendous from the field, but just like as far as it goes for like totally setting the tone of the game, just totally running the game at his pace, and played some pretty solid defense as well. I don't know, like outside of like I don't. Like it's tough to compare games given the stakes of the situation, because like the game 3 last year was a phenomenal game given like the two-way ability and how we like totally shut down Luka in the second half. And obviously there's game 2 in 2022 against the Bucks. There's game 2 against the Magic this year. But This was the game I was more impressed with Jaylen Brown than ever. So I was super thrilled to watch him play. That was awesome. I think, yeah, like, and I'll let you guys talk about everyone else. But Matt, what are your thoughts on the game?
I did just look it up. It is his career high in assists. Before that was in the regular season was 11.
Hmm.
Just an overall awesome effort. I mean, we saw a clear adjustment that Joe Mazzulla made last night, where Luke Cornett took over Porzingis' minutes in the second half, and that really just changed the game altogether. We said on the pod last week, it just totally gives the Celtics a new identity on offense, where he hangs out in the dunker spot, and it kind of just gives the Celtics like a safety net when they drive and they get stopped in the paint. It gives them an extra valve for the drop off. And we also saw the difference on the defensive end. I get Luke Cornett. I mean, sorry, I get Kristaps Porzingis is obviously dealing with something. He's not even close to 100%, but he's been horrible on defense all series. Every time they Knicks come down the floor, it feels like they're hunting him. And with him off the floor and Cornett on the floor, Cornett's defensive IQ is truly, truly amazing to watch. I feel like he's always in the right spot at the right time. He gives them rim protection, which Porzingis wasn't doing, and he was rebounding the damn ball yesterday. So, awesome game from Luke Cornett. Chris, you mean you were talking about Jaylen Brown? I think that was the most complete game I've ever seen Jaylen Brown play. I think it was
Yep.
his best. I mean, he only scored, what was it, 26 points, but
Yeah.
26, 12, and 8. Just very, very great defense. We saw him the loose ball dive into the stands to save it. So, he was just playing hard. Him and Cornett. And White. I mean, you mentioned Derek White too, with clear MVPs of this game, but really an overall team effort.
I mean, yeah, just an awesome response. It's like one of those responses that, like, you as a fan, like after Tatum gets hurt, you sit back and say, I really hope like they step up and play for their guy, But then sometimes it doesn't really work out like that. Like players are going to play however they want, but it did really seem like they kind of stepped up for
Mhm.
their guy, which is really nice to see. Um, and there's so much credit to like pass around here, I think, and I'd be remiss to not start with Jaylen Brown. I think over the past couple days, um, a lot of people, myself included, to an extent, I think we criticized Jaylen Brown, especially in our group chat, and I think a good chunk of it was warranted. Right, games
Yeah.
1 through 4, he was bad. He was passive. He turned the ball over a lot. He didn't not. He seemed very indecisive. Um, but a lot of the stuff going on, like through NBA and Celtics Twitter, was, I think, a little unnecessary.
Hmm.
Like, I think there's a difference between what we have been talking about in our group chat, where like, it's he's been bad, and we get a little angry about it, and then you get on Twitter and people are saying the most outlandish things about him. And you know what he did? He stepped up yesterday. Matt, you said it best. It was the most complete Jaylen Brown game that I've seen probably ever, if not in I don't know how long. You probably have to go back to I don't even know. Locked in on both ends, knew that without Jayson Tatum, he had to step up as a facilitator. I think Jaylen Brown 2 or 3 years ago, honestly, Jaylen Brown in the game 7 when Jayson Tatum went down, tried to be that guy who, scored 45 points and made up for Jayson Tatum's scoring. Tonight or last night, he stepped up and filled in that role as the facilitator of Jayson Tatum, right? Um, Realized that he does have a lot of good scores around him. Derek White scored 34, and it really didn't seem like it was like this. It's crazy to say because Derek White scored 34 points, and it did not seem like this like out of control, crazy Derek White game. Like it
Hmm.
was just like he got off to a hot start, made a bunch of shots, but it was just like, yeah, he kind of does that, and he was open a
Yeah.
lot, and a lot of that had to come with the Knicks doubling Jaylen Brown, the Knicks putting a lot of emphasis on Jaylen Brown, which was expected with Tatum out, and Brown just made the right reads. And I don't want to gloss over Derek White's 34-point game because it was tremendous. Um, but I'd be remiss to not talk about Luke Cornett, who was just unbelievable. I mean, this is, it's funny with Jaylen Brown having nearly a triple double with 11 assists, Derek White having 34 points, and I will forever remember this as the Luke Cornett game. He had, 10 points or something like that, maybe
10.
8 or 9 rebounds.
10, 9, and 7.
blocks.
Yeah.
I mean, the defense was what changed this game. And again, we have been very, very critical of Kristaps Porzingis. I think within the last 24 hours, we've kind of realized the severity of what he's dealing with.
Mhm.
And it's easy in the moment, and I'm more than guilty of this. It's easy in the moment to be like, get this guy off the court. He sucks. It's very much like fan behavior. And it's sad because, he's definitely gutting out something. It's
Absolutely.
like, and he's been called soft his entire career. I think I've called him soft a few times in the past week, just because it's like that's like the low hanging fruit to hit. But he's obviously very sick. He can't there's no stamina, and with Kristaps Porzingis, like his main threat is on the offensive side of the ball. So obviously he's not going to exert himself as much defensively. And here's my lone criticism of tonight's podcast. It's on Joe Mazzulla, because he's the one who's seeing Kristaps Porzingis, and I get it. KP wants to gut it out. He wants to be tough. He wants to show up for his guys. You have to pull him. He's been a total negative this series, and it's not on him. It's on whatever illness he's dealing with. And it's I don't want to deal in hypotheticals here, but the series could look a little bit different if he decides to sit KP and give Luke a couple more minutes down the stretch in some of these games, because Luke just, I'm not, Mitchell Robinson is better than Luke Cornett. We know that, right? But Luke Cornett's better at some things than Mitchell Robinson. I just think they're like he's a better matchup for Mitchell Robinson.
Mm-hmm.
They play like that similar. They play on the block. The Celtics offense doesn't really feel the need to force or feed him like they do for Kristaps Porzingis. So if Luke can kind of serve it in that dunker spot, you penetrate and you kind of dish it off to him. It's a lot more valuable. And Luke just was really, really great in help defense last night, where they would get some penetration and try to get a shot off, and he was there to kind of clean it up. 7 blocks is nuts. I don't expect that to happen tomorrow night. But all in all, just very inspiring performance in Game 5. I think a lot of teams could have just rolled over and said we're missing our best player, but the Celtics stepped up.
Chris, I don't know if you have. I have a couple more things to say. I don't know if you.
Not really. Honestly, yeah, I feel like I touched on most of it, and so did you guys. But yeah, go ahead, Matt.
I think a big part. John kind of mentioned it with Jaylen Brown not turning the ball over. They didn't really turn the ball over a lot as a team at all. Jaylen had that one stupid inbounds pass that got away from Richard, and Deuce McBride came up with the steal right in the front, right by the Knicks basket, and the Knicks ended up laying it in. But even counting that turnover, they had 27 assists to 8 turnovers compared to the Knicks 17 assists to 10 turnovers. So totally won the turnover battle only by 2, but moving the ball extremely, extremely well. No, we didn't talk about Drew Holiday, who had a very quiet, solid performance as always. He did a great job on Brunson. He was 5 of 8 from the field, 2 of 3 from 3, and had 14, 7, and 3. I mean, just a very, very solid Drew Holiday game. He's been a great X factor, just solid, consistent production from him this series. And they did a great job on the perimeter. OG Anunoby went 1 of 12 last night. His first points were in the second half. I think he had a free throw or something like that. But just, great stuff all around. Too. Yeah. Pritchard didn't shoot well, but I feel like he was everywhere that he should have been.
And it felt like whenever they needed a jump shot or they needed a 3, he provided.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Yeah, I'm really interested to see how they come out on Friday night, because obviously they all want to win, they all want to perform for JT, but I'm wondering how much of it, how much of last night is going to roll over, because obviously now I think they're probably more in the I don't know, actually, I shouldn't make any assumptions, but I could assume that it's it'll be 4 days later at this point, and I'm sure that some of the emotions from Tatum are going to be gone, not all of them, but I'm just hoping that a lot of that magic is going to continue. And I don't know exactly what the Knicks plan is going to be. I don't know if they're gonna maybe play Jaylen in single coverage, just have if OG's not gonna perform on offense, just have him only focus on defense and shutting Jaylen down, and then maybe having and having like whatever their defensive scheme is going to be. If the Celtics are probably going to start with Cornette, I'm assuming. I know that Dell's said that he thinks that the Celtics should try to give Porzingis at least some minutes, just to have him eat up minutes, but give him a very, very short leash, which is something that's going to happen in the first half, is what I'm thinking probably. But I'm not sure what their thought process is there. I'm thinking maybe 8 minutes might be good enough, but unless they really get slammed in those minutes, I don't know what the likelihood of that is there. But regardless, I'm really happy that they didn't just roll over they didn't just roll over last night. And who knows, if they come back from a 3-1 lead, that it shows a lot about this team's hearts. Yeah, quite unfortunate that they didn't make the either didn't make the adjustments, or that they didn't or the shots weren't really falling in games 1 and 2 in the second half. But yeah, who knows what would have happened. But either way, very proud of how the boys rolled out. Cool. Let me I guess we can move on now to the other Eastern Conference series on, I believe, so Tuesday night, the Pacers beat the Cavs to advance to the Eastern Conference Finals for the second season in a row. I do want to touch on both these teams. We could touch on the Pacers first. We talked about them a little bit last week about how awesome they've been all season long. Or I guess you can really say in the past like calendar year, because obviously they were the 6th seed last year and totally overachieved. This year, it doesn't really feel like it's a magic team. This year, it actually feels like this is actually like a legit team performing, and just awesome stuff going on for the Pacers. John, what are your takeaways on the Pacers?
Yeah, I think everyone and all the talking heads are going to immediately go to, and this is the problem with the NBA media nowadays. They're going to just go and slander the Cavs. It's never about giving credit to the team that played well. It's about slandering the team that played poorly. And us as Celtics fans have been singing the Pacers' praises for the better part of the last year. They play a different style of basketball than anybody, really. They push the pace constantly. It's very, very tough for any opposing team to match up with them. And once that three starts flying, it's really hard to stop them. And I think Tyrese Halliburton, while he has his limitations on the defensive side of the ball, I think that you have to give credit where it's due. He's been one of the better offensive players this postseason, and to go up against the Cavs team that won 64 games, was it, this year?
Mm-hmm.
And pretty much dominate them all the way through. And I don't know if we've talked about it last week. I think we focused mainly on the Celtics. The game winner was just like, that's like a legacy defining shot. And whether they pull the Celtics or the Knicks, I know the Knicks are probably Knicks are obviously more favored to make it to these conference finals. I think both the Celtics and the Knicks, you cannot take the Pacers lightly, because they are a legit team. And I think their offense is high powered enough to make up for what you can consider a defensive, not like a negative on defense, but not necessarily like a dominant defensive team.
Yeah, the Pacers are a legit team. I think John used the word legit, and I totally agree. Since January 1st, they have the 3rd best record in basketball. They're 34-14. And they just beat a 64-win Cav team, like John said. He touched on Halliburton, which is obviously, he's their best player. It's he's the reason why they're playing this well. But I think the main reason is their depth. I mean, they're so deep, and they have so many guys that can hurt you. If Halliburton has a bad game, Turner or Siakam can step up. And they have these annoying role players that could just win a game. Like Aaron Nesmith won them game 2. He had 23 in Cleveland. And obviously Nembhard, we're big Andrew Nembhard fans on this podcast. I'm trying to see what he averaged. Stat muse is horrible, but last series, but he had a great, solid series versus the Cavs. I don't know, AH, are you going to talk more about the Pacers or the Cavs? Should I dive into the Cavs?
I was gonna do more about the Cavs. So yeah, you can add on.
All right, you go ahead. You go ahead. I'll add on if I have anything.
No. I wanted to finish off with the Pacers before we move on to the Cavs because they'll be a totally different topic of discussion.
Okay.
Well, do you need time to look up stats?
No, I was just trying to find. I have it right here.
Yeah.
They had 5 guys average more than 10 points. Sorry, 6 players more
Oh
average
wow.
11 or higher last series. Siakam and Halliburton. Siakam 18, Halliburton 17, Miles Turner 16, Neesmith and Nembhard 14, and Mathurin 11. Just like they
Wow.
attack you so.
Yeah.
They're so deep and they have such a hurt you in so many ways.
Crazy that Halliburton had 4 points in Game 5. That was that was pretty wild to see, and then just for him to totally come back and see that doesn't really bother him. Like and I also think that he's one of those stars where like he obviously just impacts the game in so many other ways. Like obviously he's extremely efficient. I think he's top. It's gonna be tough for me to like. Obviously LeBron and Luka are probably better passers than him, but I don't know many other passers that are better than him in the league. Like as far as it goes for like also not just passing but like court vision and just knowing knowing which place to be at which place to be at all times, making the right reads. I feel like Halliburton is better at that than anyone in the league, and obviously just as I said, extremely efficient. Maybe like the only critique of his game I would say is just maybe not he's not aggressive enough, but I also feel like that's part of his game. It's just being able to make the right reads at all times. Like which I know people like roll their eyes at like comparing him to Steve Nash, but like I do think he is. If there's any player in the league like Steve Nash today, it's absolutely him. Given how efficient he is, and given how given his basketball IQ, Halliburton is that guy, and I think has an extremely bright future in the league. And I don't know what his ceiling is. Like we'll see if he leads his team to the we'll see if he leads his team to the finals this year. But I wouldn't surprise me one bit if he was able to, maybe not like win like in a traditional sense where he like totally dominates in the finals. Like he would have to probably like have like a good supporting cast around him. But I think one day he can absolutely be the best player on the championship team.
Chris, they won. They shot 50% from the field and 42 from three that series.
That's
Their
wild.
offense is just so good.
Yeah, it's just
they run such a great offense.
They pushed the pace really well, and also shout out to Rick Carlisle. I know that he was someone who got a ton of slack for not winning a playoffs. I think it was a playoff series. I don't know if it was playoff series or a playoff game. I think it was playoff series since the finals with Dirk. When like a solid decade, and then the Mavs decided to move on from him. Which, by the way, it was the right move for him to move on from him. Like it was he ran his course, but don't make a mistake. He's still one of the best coaches in the league, and a main reason as to why the Pacers are playing so well right now. But I do want to talk about the Cavs because I'm someone who defended the Cavs all year long. I'm someone who's bigger fan of Donovan Mitchell than anyone probably like anyone that lives outside of Cleveland or Utah. But like and like he definitely did have some like brutal stretches, but like that being said, I think games 1, 2, and 3 he was phenomenal. Game 4, not so great. I think game 5 he was awesome, and game 6 he kind of choked out. So but like I'm just gonna give my take before I ask you what you think. But I think people comparing this team to the 2015 Hawks are ridiculous. The Cavs were dominant all year long. Like everyone saw them as a threat just because of how great they were playing. I just think a couple things happened. Obviously, game 2 happens. They their second and third and probably fifth or sixth best player were all injured, and they all came back. But let's be honest, they also weren't 100%. People calling them frauds are just, I feel like it's just confirmation bias. Like I don't think they're actually looking at the full picture. And if you want to say that Donovan Mitchell I will probably agree with people. I'm not saying you agree with people that say maybe it's disappointing at this point that Donovan Mitchell hasn't been able to lead his team to conference finals at this point. Because I don't know if the Cavs should have won this series, but they definitely should have won game 2. But I don't really know. Maybe I'm biased myself, but I just feel like people were just so excited to call the Cavs frauds this year just because they didn't have any like superstar as the number one seed. But I just think that I don't think it's fair at all to like give the Cavs that label of one of the worst 1 seeds of all time when they played awesome all year long and then they had some injuries, then ran into a great playoff rising team.
Yeah, I mean, I think the craziest stat I saw, I totally agree about that. They're better than the Hawks, by the way. They went 38-5 versus non-Pacer teams at home this year. Do you know what their record at home versus the Pacers was this year?
What was it?
0-5. They didn't win a game at home
was it
versus
0-5?
Pacers.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
I was gonna say 3. Oh my god! Yeah.
So half their losses at home this year were to one team, which is just kind of crazy.
Mhm.
Sometimes you just run into a team that matches up extremely well against you, and
Yep.
they just kind of have your number. Um, it is a shame that Mitchell. I mean, we know you're a huge Donovan Mitchell fan. I mean, it's another second round exit for him. Obviously, that's you know a tough look on him, but I don't really know what else he could have done. Like obviously, games what was it, game 5, he didn't have a tremendous game.
Game 5 he was tremendous. I think it was game 4 and 6 that he struggled. I could be wrong though.
6, was it 6? Was
They
it?
lost in they lost in 6, right?
I thought it was 5 they lost in.
Was it 5? Okay, yeah, it was 5. Yeah, yeah. Like I keep on getting my numbers wrong, and my days of the week wrong. Yeah. The state of injury's throwing me off with everything.
But I mean, he was tremendous this series. But yeah, obviously, very disappointing. It happens when you're a little banged up, but everyone's banged up in the playoffs. And I think this is just more credit to the Pacers than it is a discredit to the Cavs.
Absolutely. And Chilton made a video about this yesterday about how we let teams off the hook way too much by saying, oh, like this team underachieved, blow it up. And like obviously we're big proponents of like letting it ride out. The Celtics decided not to blow it up after 20. They kind of blew it up after 2019, but like yeah, they decided not to blow it up after 2020. They decided not to blow it up after 2022, 2023. Actually, they did blow it up. Oh, but like blow it up is a bad example actually. So like, but like, should they make certain moves? Yes, every team should do that. But we shouldn't be expecting teams to blow it up. We should be expecting our star players to to get better. Evan Mobley just had a career year. He's turning into a young, awesome player. Allow him to get better. Jared Allen was great for most of the year, but just didn't match up well with the Pacers. Try to see what he could do to play better. It's not like Jared Allen's like 35. I think he's only like, I don't even know if he's 30 yet. But he's someone that can get better. And same thing with Darius Garland. Like it's not like these guys are at the tail end of their primes. This is this is like a team that's like not too young, not too old. They should just improve on the margins and expect better from your stars. Don't blow it up. Especially when you just had when you had your best season yet. Unless you're going to trade for Giannis or trade for even LeBron at this point, run it back. That's my thought process on the Cavs.
Jared Allen turned 27 like a couple weeks ago.
It's 27, right? Yeah. Like I don't know if I kind of second guessed myself. I'm like, I don't think he's 30. Yeah, he's 27. Yeah. So, this team can definitely get better without blowing everything up. Unless you're going to trade.
It was also the first year with Atkinson.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So give it time. I mean, I do get, maybe changing some role players here and there, or, questioning if like your second or third option is kind of what the Celtics did. They realized Marcus Smart wasn't the answer, unfortunately. So just doing that, but I mean, like you said, you're a very young team. Let the players develop. Have these playoff runs that unfortunately ended heartbreak, but build on that. And I agree, Chris. I don't think they should blow it up at all. You just won 64 games.
Yep. Absolutely. So speaking of Donovan Mitchell, let's talk about his former teammates team who just advanced to the conference finals for the second year in a row after not making it since 2004, I believe. So they beat the Warriors in 5 games. They were without Steph Curry for I think for most of the series. I think it was like just beginning of game 1 that he was injured. Or that he got injured, hurt his hamstring. But the Wolves took full advantage of that and decided to, not decided to. Like they ended up just like winning all the games that they could, and then and they got everything from everyone. Anthony Edwards obviously continuing to elevate his game big time. He improved his game as a 3-point shooter during the regular season. Now he's improving his game as a facilitator in the postseason. Rudy Gobert obviously putting together playing his role really well. I think he had 15 points last night, and then it feels like every year I go on an apology tour for either current Knicks or former Knicks. This is my first former apology to Julius Randle because, in fairness, I think that everyone. I think that maybe I criticize Randle more than anyone, but I do think that a lot of people agree with me. I don't think anyone expected Julius Randle to play this great in the playoffs because he has been absolutely awesome this year. And shout out to him because without him this year, the Wolves wouldn't be anywhere near where they are now. They're obviously the 6th seed this year, so he played good in the regular season, not great, but he has upped his game in the regular season in the playoffs. So shout out to Julius Randle.
LeJulius, 24, 6 and 6 in this postseason. Who would have thought? And also playing great on both sides of the ball. The
Absolutely.
Wolves were my pick to make the Western Conference Finals.
That's right.
Not to flex that. But some great play all around. We talked about the Pacers' depth, Chris. The Wolves are super deep.
Yep.
When your when your bench rotation is Nas Reed, DiVincenzo, and Nikhil Alexander-Walker, that's a very, very solid bench. And they're just so like long and big. They got Gobert, Nas Reed, obviously Randall's a big guy. Like their defense is super impressive. Obviously they're well coached. I mean, I say this all the time about the Wolves. I'm massive, massive fan of them. Who knows what happens this series if Steph Curry plays? I think the Warriors still win. I mean, they won in 5, but um, you know, who knows? But he it's a shame that he was hurt. But congrats to Minnesota. I mean, I think they win even if Curry does play. But
Hmm.
Yeah, credit where it's due. I mean, I think on this podcast a few times I aggressively questioned the trade of or what the Timberwolves were doing in that cat trade. And I love it for Julius Randle. I think he not only like I think Knicks fans and I think most of them do, they love Julius Randle because he was like the guy when it was, you know, they were in the playoffs, but it was like, they weren't contenders, and he kind of made Knicks basketball a little bit fun. Um, Obviously, you make that trade for Cat. No one's questioning Cat over Randall, really. But this playoffs, Randall has proven to be an elite player.
mhm.
Uh, Matt, like you said, and going off what you said about their depth, like Julius Randle being that good makes their bench look even better. Like Dante and Nas Reed and now it's like those three coming off the bench, like there's not really many other rotations in the NBA that are better than that. And then you throw on top of that Anthony Edwards, like you said, taking a leap from a playmaking angle. Last year I think we saw when his shot wasn't falling, he was pretty much non-factor, and he's kind of flipped the script on that there. So credit to them. They did run into a little bit of luck with Curry. Um, I still think that if you told me at the beginning of that series that everybody healthy that the Timberwolves won, I wouldn't have been shocked. But credit to them, they're moving on, and now they're just waiting to see who they play.
Hey, H, I have a question for you. I mean,
Yep.
John, you can also answer this.
Yeah.
So this
Mhm.
is, I mean, I like focusing more on the winning team of the series more than the losing team, but
Yeah.
I am gonna flip the switch here and focus on the Warriors for a second. Where do they go from here? Like what? Like I don't. You run it back?
You gotta.
Yeah. I
You signed Jimmy Butler to a 2-year extension. Steph Curry's still under contract. Draymond Green's under contract. What are you gonna do? It's not like
do
you
you
can get
think do you think this team's a real contender though? Like next year, you're gonna pick them to go far?
I think
Like
you're always a contender with Steph.
Yeah. Not always. If you're, I mean, they were the 10th seed with them last year. So, but healthy Steph with, um, but like, I don't know, just because like, yeah, like Draymond finished second in defensive player of the year voting. How much of that those votes were legit is in question. But I do think he was at the very least, I think he was an All NBA first team defender. But I don't know how much of that is going to last for long. Butler is taking a clear step back. Like he did have his moments this year at playoff Jimmy. Like he did have like one of the series he had like over 30 points. So good for him there. I said moments. He scored over 30 points. He scored over 30 points. I'm like that's
playoff
what's
Jimmy scored the same amount of points as Rudy Gobert in an elimination game.
Did he really? I didn't
Yes,
realize that. That is
both at
crazy.
17.
That is wild. Oh my god. But
17 and 9 of them came from the line.
Yeah,
that's
It's people need to, and I saw a tweet about this, and I've been saying it for years, and this tweet only validated what I've been saying for years. He hunts mismatches. He will never, go to work against an elite defender. He'll hunt mismatches and he'll get to the line. That's what he does.
hmm
And because of he played very well in the bubble Eastern Conference Finals, and then while he did play well in that 2023 Eastern Conference Finals, he got a lot of help from two guys shooting 60% from three that nobody wants to talk about. He carried the 8 seed Heat to that finals. No, he didn't. That team did a very, very good job all around. And he fizzles out. He's been fizzling out in the playoffs the last couple of years, whether he's getting hurt or not, and that's because he doesn't play in the regular season. So, um, he'll join a team and then he'll talk about how amazing this team is and how much better it is than his other team, and then he'll do the same thing over and over again. So,
averaged 20 points on 53.2 true shooting percentage. I don't know what he shot during the regular season, but it was I don't know if it was worse than Miami, but it was certainly worse than what he was in Golden State. So, but as far as it goes for next year, we can talk. We have a few minutes, so yes. So like we'll talk about the Thunder Nuggets real quick because it's halftime in that game, and the Thunder are up 3. But after that, we can dive into some postseason stuff for a couple teams if we like. But the Thunder are up 3 at halftime. If they win, they advance to the conference finals, West Conference Finals against the Wolves. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't see this coming at all. I thought the Thunder. I think the Thunder are a much better team than the Nuggets. Given their depth, given that I thought that SGA was on the same level as Jokic, but I don't think that's the case at all. Really, I think that there's a clear gap between the two of them at this point. I thought, but the Nuggets role players are just playing so much better than I expected them to be, especially Jamal Murray and Christian Brown, and overall definitely some great stuff from the Nuggets. And with that they're on the brink of elimination. I think that shows how great this Thunder team is overall, because like they have like such a wide margin of error. Matt, do you have any thoughts on the series?
Yeah, I'm also surprised that the Nuggets are playing the Thunder this well. I had the Clippers actually beating the Nuggets in the last round. I think we all did actually, but I mean, Michael Porter Jr. is a little banged up. He was supposed to be out for at least a month with his shoulder injury, but he's playing through it. Aaron Gordon is time and time again proving that he's one of the best role players in the league. So yeah, I mean, like you said, I feel like a lot of people are playing well. Murray has been inconsistent, which has been his people's gripe with him, but they are playing better than I expected them to this series, and they're still on the brink of elimination, like you said. Shea's had, I think, game 2 he played well. I might be confusing my games, but he hasn't had that super efficient as of a series. But like you said, this Thunder team can hurt you in so many ways. Their defense, suffocates you, especially late in games. So I'm extremely impressed with the Thunder. I think they either finish it tonight or, I mean, they're my pick in Game 7.
Yeah, Matt, you touched on what I was going to say. I think you got to credit the Nuggets for taking it this far. They played really good basketball, and frankly, I don't really think the Thunder have played too well, and they're up 3-2 in the series. So I think that's the dangerous and the scary part about the Thunder is, even at like not their worst, but even at like a bad version of the Thunder, they're still competing with the top 4 team in the West. And against the best player in the league. So you got to give credit, but realistically speaking, I don't see the Thunder losing tonight. But even if they do, like you said, Matt, I think they win in 7.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to say for the least. But that being said, if the game does come down to the last couple minutes, I do think the Nuggets close it out. It seems like that's one issue. That's one area where the Thunder do struggle is down the clutch, which is something I was concerned about at the beginning of the year. But that being said, it seems like not many of their games are going to be down the clutch. I don't know. I don't even know if the Nuggets or the Wolves match up better with the Thunder. I mean, I guess probably the Nuggets, given that they have that. I don't even know actually, because the Wolves have a much better defense, but their offense is also a lot more limited. So, Matt, what do you think? I don't even know which team matches up. I guess I'll lean towards the Nuggets because they're playing so well, but I don't even know.
I don't know. I would say the Wolves. I mean, I think they just give you so many different looks. Their defense is I think light years better than than the Nuggets.
And their depth, yes, and their depth as well. So like defense and depth, but I guess I was also thinking, I don't know, I guess if you take Jokic out, which I know Jokic is part of it, so you can't just take him out, but like it's without question that the Wolves match up better. But I don't know. Yeah. Like, but you catch Aaron Gordon and Jamal Murray on a hot night. They're as good as any team in the league. So, either way, it'll be an interesting series. I think very well might if depending, like assuming that the Thunder either wins tonight or on say Thursday. I believe that Game 7 would be on Sunday. That Game 7 would be on Sunday because the Celtics Game 7 would be on Monday if they were to win tomorrow night. Which awful scheduling, by the way. Why is no team playing on Saturday? But then we have Game 7s going on Sunday afternoon. Game 7 is actually an appropriate time, but Monday night it makes no sense to me. I think part of that actually does have to do with the fact of Subway Series, but I could be wrong there. But I think that's all we have for either of those series. But yeah, we do have a few minutes. So yes, so we could talk about like big picture certain moves over the offseason because obviously most teams are eliminated. There's only 6 teams remaining. So there's already a bunch of talk about which players are going to be traded at the end of the offseason. And we can actually start off with the Celtics just because people are talking about possible trades being made and pretty much I'll call him like a salary cap expert. Keith Smith tweeted out possibilities of like possible trades and how unfortunately certain trades are going to be not impossible, but like a little harder to make. But he did talk about how Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis are like the 2 names that are going to be thrown around the most over the offseason. That's 2 of the names that are most likely going to be moved given their age and their contracts. I'm trying to find the tweet from him because he answered. Okay, here it is. So he said he's going to keep it general with Porzingis and Drew because I'm someone who tweeted out even yesterday said Porzingis tanked his trade value big time, which is true. But he did say for Porzingis because he's on an expiring deal, that has value in and of itself. Expiring deals are valuable again for teams looking to clear long-term money. He's also productive when he plays. If you need a center and can cover for his absences, he's a good fit, which is true. Hopefully, for the Celtics case and for his case and whichever team plays for his case, that he'll be like he's able to get a well rest over the summer and hopefully whatever he's going through, he's like this isn't like if it's long COVID, hopefully he's able to recover more from that. I don't know if it's mono. It was another possibility. Obviously, I'm not a doctor, so could be a plethora of other things as well. But who knows? And for Drew, basically any team that needs a guard who can flex his usage up and down when necessary while being a plus defender 1 through 4 and even small 5s. The contract and age are concerns, but if you are trying to win now, Drew can be a fit. Boston won't get an incredible return on either because of contract, age, or injury concerns, but they won't have to give up assets to move them either, which I think is pretty I think is pretty encouraging in of itself. But I don't know if I agree with the Porzingis piece because I think people might be concerned with his health and everything there. But that being said, he's on a 1-year deal, only making $30 million. So I don't know what your guys' thoughts are just on the Celtics piece of it.
Yeah, I think with KP, it's interesting. I think we were talking about this in the group chat a little bit before. I almost think that Drew might be harder to move than KP just because he has a much longer contract.
Right.
And while I thought he had a good year. He didn't have the elite year that he did last year, right?
No.
Especially in the playoffs. It's kind of been like a hit or miss, I would say, with him. But and hit or miss might even be a little bit too harsh because I do think he's been playing well and he's been probably one of the more consistent Celtics over the past 2 years in terms of play on both sides. But I just think KP might be easier to move if for the exact reason you said, Chris, teams trying to move a little bit of a longer term contract for somebody who's on an expiring deal. If a team wants to clear like a contract of, I don't even know how much, but say they at least want to get rid of like $30 million for 2026. So not next year, the year after, you make that trade for KP, you get a long-term contract off your books. And then KP, I don't even know how many games he'd play next year for $30 million, but he's gone after that season.
Yep.
So that's the value in that. I've seen a number of trade ideas already with KP and Drew, and I think like 90% of them that I've seen are unlikely or not even like doable.
They're either unlikely or I just don't like them. Like, so, yeah, like, which I understand, like, if you're going to trade either of those guys, that you're probably going to have to take on some things you don't like, or even give away something you don't like. But
it's
like
like you either hate the trade or it's like you
Yeah.
find yourself saying, the other team has to agree with this too, right?
Yeah, exactly.
They
Yeah.
just like demand players for this. But I think the Celtics were going to have to make these trades anyway,
Eventually.
regardless of what happens to Tatum. It's just the way the CBA negotiated this players agreement. I can't believe they don't have like, I don't know, like real attorneys negotiating. Like it doesn't make sense to me. I could go on for another half hour about that agreement. Just totally.
I think we've
teams for drafting well.
I think we've insulted Grant Williams and CJ McCollum enough on this podcast for how awful trade deals they're making. Not to get political, but
morons.
Yeah. Yeah, we talked about the Warriors. Yeah, like as far as it goes for the Warriors, like I'm gonna repeat what I said. I'm not sure what they can do because he's like regardless of what happens, we already saw that Jimmy Butler, you really they didn't trade a lot for him, and I don't think you can get a lot for him back. He did play he played awesome in the rest of the regular season, but we saw like when he had to take on that extra responsibility, he's just not that guy anymore. And Draymond is only valuable next to Steph Curry, and I don't want to say only valuable. I will say it. I think he's only valuable next to Steph Curry at this point. At this point in his career, I think in 2016 Draymond could have been valuable to next to other players, but I think at this point in his career, I don't think anyone's giving up assets for Draymond Green. So I think you run it back next year with those guys and see what happens. But I don't know. Like, I don't know if you guys have anything more to say about the Warriors. We already talked about them. Or you know what? Do you guys have any other teams in mind that you want to talk about?
I think the more interesting teams are going to be the Suns and maybe the Rockets on two sides of the aisle. Kind of the Suns are looking to unload a lot because that core is not working, and I think the Rockets are a superstar away. They were a 2 seed this year. Obviously lost to a healthy Warriors team. But I mean, what was their number one option offensively? Not in terms of playmaking and everything, but like their number one scorer was Fred VanVleet, wasn't it?
Was it VanVleet or was it Green? He was one of those two.
One of those two, and I think I know Green's young, but it doesn't really seem like he can be like a bona fide number one on the championship team. So, I know Kevin Durant's name has been thrown out a lot. I think he's been rumored to the Rockets for a while. I think that makes the most sense. If not, maybe the Spurs. But I think in terms of trades this offseason, all eyes are going to be on the Suns in terms of, they have a lot of star power.
Yep.
And when I mean that, I mean KD and Booker, not Beal. He's going to sit on that no trade clause for a while. But yeah, I think it's all eyes on the Suns and then see how the dominoes fall after that.
Yeah, I also think the Bucks are a team to watch, obviously, with Giannis.
Yeah.
I mean, John mentioned the Rockets. Maybe the Rockets trade one of a Jalen Green or a Sengun for him. Also, the Spurs are a team to watch. Obviously, they just took on that Fox deal. I don't know if I think he's a piece to build around with Wemby. So, I mean, if they do Giannis, Wemby, and then they trade Stephon Castle, Jeremy Shohan, 2 and 14 in this year's draft and somewhere else. It's just what direction the Bucks want to go. Do they want players that are going to play now, or do they want guys that they can develop and just buy into the full rebuild?
This is one more team I want to talk about. That's actually the Lakers, and I saw that we're clearly in Lakers fan season mode where they're putting together the worst possible trades ever, and it's aggravating me a lot more than it should. Hang on. This guy, he asked the question. He didn't even say, we should do this. He asked, would you trade Dalton? So would you trade Dalton Connect in a deal for PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford?
That's it? Just Dalton Connect?
Just Dalton Connect. PJ is 2 years older than Dalton, so the age difference isn't too bad. We know. I'd heavily consider it since the Mavs are likely to move on from PJ for a guard with Cooper coming. Yes, we know the Mavs would. No, yes. I don't know, but maybe it's the Tatum news that's like affecting me, but that I'm getting more annoyed by this Lakers news. But you guys just got Luka for chips, so no, you're not going to do this thing where you just get rid of your crappy players to get good players back. Yeah, I know it happened once, but and it happens once every decade because I don't want to be a conspiracy. I don't want to bring up conspiracies and then be called an idiot by some smug guy on the internet saying like, oh, well, actually, no, screw you guys. But the Lakers find a way to fleece teams every year, for God knows why, but who knows.
Dalton Connect has not averaged over double-digit points. What are we doing here?
But not for nothing, you're getting Gafford back, which is a clear need for the Lakers, and PJ Washington, who would, I don't know if would he be started? I don't even know.
They're both plus defenders.
Yeah, and
but it's better also offensively.
And it's funny because like some people were saying, or like I don't want to say some people, pretty much all people were saying in the trade deadline, Reeves is untouchable, and I never fully apologized to Reeves because he was never on my hate watch agenda, but I was definitely someone who underestimated his abilities, but he was awesome in the regular season, but then pretty bad in the playoffs, and now everyone's saying that they should trade him, which I think is a pretty silly move would be a pretty silly move because he's like one of the most, outside of LeBron and Luka, he's definitely like the third best player and also like an amazing asset as well given his contract. So I think unless you're getting a clear upgrade in return for him, I would be very surprised if the Lakers moved on from him. But I also know that some people are also suggesting putting him on the bench. But again, I don't know which players you're getting or how you're getting good players in order to like justify putting him on the bench. Well, I mean, the way to justify it is by just putting like an elite guard defender next to Luka, because I don't know how far the Lakers can go with a backcourt of Luka and Reeves without having an AD-esque anchor of a defender. Gafford's like a great defender, but I think you need more than that. All right. Any other teams we want to talk about, or we want to call it a night? Yeah, you muted, John. But I think we're. Think we're
I can't think of any like off the top of my head. I'm sure.
No,
we have
plenty of time to talk about this over the off season. That's I'm actually pretty excited for the off season to talk because we have like a lot more. We have like a lot more of like an open like a lot more open space to talk about, because like last year we had the Olympics, which was a lot of fun to talk about. But yeah, it did take up like 20 minutes, half hour of each episode. Also, John wasn't with us a ton last summer because of his new job thing, and now he'll have more time. And also I think the 8 o'clock time in the summertime is going to be like, we loved it this year. I think it's going to be even better in the summertime because of timing and such. But either way, looking forward to summer. I think there's I have like 26 days left of school, so I'm pretty excited about that. All right, yeah, we're a little over now. But yeah, either way, Celtics play tomorrow night. Hopefully they extend it to 7, and hopefully they'll be able to play Game 7 on Monday nights. All right, so before I do my closing message, check out check out NBA Max on Sunday nights. I will not be on this week, but however Tony, Ori B, and Jalen Carter should all be on. Take a look at my column on primetimesportstalk.com. I do have a Jayson Tatum article being written up soon, and hopefully will be published early next week. Be sure to follow me on all social media platforms. You can see them on the bottom right of your screen right now. And yeah, obviously make sure to subscribe to @SportsFluence. And yeah, John Matz, as always a pleasure as per usual. This has been another episode of the All American Hoops Podcast. Until next week, keep grinding and stay hooping. Have a great night, everyone.
Put on a suit, drink water, don't drink and drive. Hey, man, call your mother.
It means nothing. It means nothing.
No, they lying to you. It's about the money.
Now you're more fluent.